Hey YouTube, what's going on? Lionheart here, and on today's video, I want to talk about my first impressions of the RAIDEN Shogun, also known as Baal. I'll explain why I think she is worth it at Constellation 0, the problem with many people's evaluation of her, and what team comps I plan to use her in. If you find this video helpful, please remember to like and leave a comment below. I'll also be publishing 2 separate videos on my first impressions of Aloy, who I have at level 90, and on everything you need to know about fishing. Be sure to subscribe and enable alerts for that content. Okay, why is Baal worth it at Constellation 0? Someone has certainly told you by now that she is underpowered, doesn't work with all the elemental bursts in the game, and is an easy pass. And if you're looking for the next strong primary damage dealer, all of that is probably true. But Baal is not meant to be a primary damage dealer unlike Ganyu or Hu Tao. She fits into a sub-DPS rotation role similar to Albedo, entering the fray only to use her elemental skill and burst as support for another primary damage dealer and to generate a ridiculous amount of energy for Electro team comps, or any team comp. Baal accelerates at that role, the sub-DPS rotation role, really well. Her elemental skill has 100% uptime with a 10-second cooldown, but a 25-second duration. It generates lots of energy, and it deals anywhere from 2,000 to 4,000 damage each second at Constellation 0, depending on the enemy and buffs from your team. You can actually get that number significantly higher than that, but I don't want to talk about like crazy buff stacking, because not everybody has access to a really well-built Bennett and a C2 Kazuha with good VV and all of that stuff. Okay, so 2,000 to 4,000 damage each second. I think that's what your average player can expect. For comparison, Baal's damage is less than Albedo, who with an average build could still hit anywhere from 15 to 18,000 damage every 2 seconds, and Fischl, whose damage will vary widely depending on your build, but can easily eclipse 10,000 damage each second at C6. And she's an older character, so a lot more people have her at C6. With all that said, you might be thinking, isn't Baal objectively worse then? And the answer is not exactly. First, her elemental skill is not restricted by range of a placed totem. For Albedo, that's the Solar Isotoma, and for Fischl, that's Oz. And while most totems can be moved, there is an effective DPS downtime associated with that movement due to casting animations. It's also not always possible to have 100% uptime if Fischl's burst is not available or if the Solar Isotoma is destroyed early. Baal's elemental skill generates far more energy than those skills, at least in my limited testing, and it also boosts the power of other characters' elemental bursts during its duration. Since it has 100% uptime, as we discussed earlier, you effectively have a permanent elemental burst damage boost to all your other characters. And while that damage boost doesn't apply directly to Baal, she is gaining stacks of resolve from bursts used by other characters, as well as the energy she's generating, which has a big impact on her own elemental burst damage. Given all of these added benefits, you can see why MiHoYo felt her damage on the ability should probably be lower. By the way, side note, in co-op, Baal also creates lesser omens with her elemental skill on all players, and those lesser omens deal 20% of its damage, which effectively boosts the total damage output of her elemental skill by 60%. Pretty cool. Baal's elemental burst isn't too bad either. At Constellation 0, and with only Sara as a buffer, I was able to nuke for around 100,000 damage on initial cast, and then deal another 50,000 or so damage with the following rotation: 3 normal attacks, 1 charged attack, and I repeated that 2 to 3 times. The number of repetitions I was able to land depended mostly on if I had to reposition in combat or evade an incoming attack. If I had used Bennett and Kazuha, I probably could have doubled that initial cast damage to at least 200,000 and tripled the follow-on damage for maybe a total of anywhere from 150 to 300,000, honestly. And the reason for that is Sara's buff is only 6 seconds, or half the duration of Bennett's burst, and also 4 seconds shorter than the resistance shred applied by the animal artifact set. And that doesn't include other benefits like elemental mastery gain from a C2 Kazuha. So there's lots of ways to really inflate that damage. But if you're not trying to overinflate it, you're just using Sara, about 150,000 total with just Sara. And maybe I can get that a little bit higher with time and with optimizing my build. Sara wasn't built up totally the way I wanted her, but yeah. Look, Baal is clearly a character designed to generate energy for your team and provide easy access to electro-elemental reactions, and she does this very well. She has a burst that allows her to rotate with other characters who benefit from some downtime, such as C0 Child, Shao, Yoimiya, right, whose elemental skill has severe downtime. When it's up, it's really good, but when it's down, she doesn't do much. Hu Tao, right, if her skill is down or you just need to pull her for whatever reason. And her synergy, by the way, her synergy being Baal synergy with like Eula and Rosaria and other physical damage dealers that can proc cryo, which I think actually right now is just Eula and Rosaria, but it's pretty incredible, and it makes it easy to reliably proc superconduct without pulling your DPS from combat, excuse me. Her constellations aren't needed for any of this, and her damage and team benefits do improve considerably if you get those constellations, but they're not required, okay? Regardless, her function on the team is the same, constellations or no constellations. Her function is to support another primary damage dealer, generate energy, and provide easy access to electro-elemental reactions. If that's something you want, roll for her. If not, and you want to deal great damage, that is possible too, but you'll have to buffer with the usual suspects, Bennett, Kazuha, and now Sara, and there's a few others like Mona that could be named. However, I think that's a one-shot build if you go that route, and after one shot, unless you have a lot of constellations, I think you're going to be in trouble. So, you know, it's up to you. I think those are both valid options. What I wouldn't do is I wouldn't roll for Baal expecting her to play like Ganyu or another primary DPS, as her normal attacks are very weak outside of her elemental burst, and she's simply not designed for that purpose. All right, if you have questions, feel free to leave them in the comments below. You can also join me live for more Baal gameplay on my Twitch channel at twitch.tv/Lionheart. Hope to see you there. If this video was helpful, be sure to like and leave a comment below. I'll be releasing more content on new characters, on fishing, and lots more in the near future. So be sure to subscribe and enable alerts for that content. Thanks for your time, and I'll see you on the next Genshin Impact video.